Hello, today we're going to look at parallel lines, transversals and their angles. Now the first rule we're going to look at today is corresponding angles. Now when a pair of parallel lines is intersected by a transversal, which means when we have got a pair of parallel lines that has a line cutting it, that produces different types of special angles. The first one is corresponding. Now when we look at the pair of parallel lines, if we can see here, the 100 degrees is underneath the parallel line and next to the transversal. We can have the angle with the question mark in the same position, as you can see here. So this is with the bottom parallel line. The angle is in the same place as the angle that is 100 degrees. Now, because they are in the same position, they are congruent, which means they are identical. So because this angle here is 100, this angle here is also 100 degrees. Now this also works here. So if we look at the next set of parallel lines, we have 80 degrees, which is next to the transversal and above the parallel line, the top parallel line. So again, the question mark is above the bottom parallel line and next to the transversal. So that would mean that this degree here would be 80 degrees. We also know that angles in a straight line, because this is a straight line here, we know that this angle here, if that's 80, this one would be 100 degrees. We also know, because this angle is also corresponding to the 100 degrees here, that this angle is also 100 degrees. We can then use either the rule of parallel lines or vertically opposite angles, because these angles here are vertically opposite, to say that this angle is 80 degrees and this angle here is 80 degrees and this angle is 100 degrees and this angle here is 100 degrees. So that is our first rule. Moving on to look at alternate angles. Now again, with the alternate angles, if we look here, we have got an angle here that is 101 degrees. Now, this is inside the parallel lines, as is the question mark, and they are cut by the transversal. So they're actually alternate to each other. Alternate angles are also congruent, which, as we remember, is a mathematical term for identical. So if this angle here is 101, this angle here is 101 degrees. If we then look at the next angle here, this is 103 degrees. We go to our next angle, which is here, which is also 103 degrees. So that is our second rule. We now look at co-interior angles. Co-interior angles are special because they're inside the parallel lines on the same side as the transversal. Now the rule is slightly different. They're not congruent, so it doesn't mean they're identical, but they do equal 180 degrees. So if this angle here is 100 degrees, we can work out what this angle is here, because we know that 100 degrees plus our question mark gives us 180 degrees. So we know that question mark equals 180 minus 100 degrees. So our question mark is 80 degrees. On the next example here, we have got 70 degrees, which is inside the parallel lines and the transversal, and we have got a question mark. So we know that we have got 70 degrees plus question mark equals 180 degrees. So question mark equals 180 degrees minus 70 degrees. So our question mark is 110 degrees. So those are our three rules. Now to make it a little bit easier, what we can do, we can draw around these angles. And if we look, the corresponding, when we draw around them, it looks a little bit like an F. And here we'll do the same again with the original angles that we looked at. And again, if we spin our screen round, that looks a little bit like an F. We then have here round our angles, it looks like a Z. Or if we spin it, it looks like a Z or an S. So that again is for our alternate angles. Then finally for our co-interior angles, if we go round, look, and that looks like a U. And again, we go round our angles, and that looks like a U. So that gives us a little bit of information to try and help us determine which angle is which. Now, thank you very much for listening.